Hello, my name is Trevor Lynch and I was diagnosed with lymphoma. Well, one of the first things I did when I was diagnosed was go you see Lymphoma Association website just to understand what I had, what the treatments were and what I might expect from it. And everything there pointed to the fact that the chemo I would have would probably cost me my hair. So, and the doctors also told me too that probably 3 weeks after my first round of chemotherapy, my hair would start to fall out. So it wasn't a surprise, I was prepared for it. But even still, I didn't know how I would be affected by it once it started to happen. That was a big unknown. It is something that's difficult to get used to because it happened so fast to begin with. But what I didn't appreciate is how fast it did fall out. So I was at work on Friday with a relatively full head of hair. It had started to come out, but not in clumps. By Monday, it had come out so much over the weekend that I was effectively bald. I couldn't believe how fast it had happened. Personally found it very difficult. A lot of my colleagues, I work in a big office, there's about 1,500 people in it, so there's your colleagues, but there's also people that you see, that you know to look at. And suddenly I was getting a lot of double takes. I was getting a lot of people that I knew vaguely to nod and say hello to would walk by me because they suddenly didn't recognize me. I was this man that was effectively 10, 20 years older over a weekend. And so it was quite a difficult time emotionally to get through, I think. My wife knew this was coming. It's all part of the treatment, and so when it happened, she didn't make a big deal of it. She didn't treat me any differently or look at me funny. So it was just normal, a normal day.
It was a bit of a shock, but I think seeing him every day, you just get used to him having slightly less hair every day, and then suddenly it's all gone, which is strange. And the children thought it was quite funny and quite enjoyed it, actually. My daughter sort of drew on his head and she didn't seem very worried about it at all. And then he decided to shave it off when it started falling out, so she sort of helped with that. So they were sort of part of the process, really. So it was strange, but you do get used to it, and it just, it's just Trev still. So.
My children were involved in shaving my head. I actually got it done here. I went and bought a clippers, and my wife and daughter did it. And then the first thing my daughter did was get some crayons and paint on my head. And so she thought that was very funny, and it made a good moment of it for her as well, and took the pessimistic and dark side of the story away from that moment. The second time around, when I lost my eyebrows and eyelashes, and that, in my eyes, made me look very different, and so I found that quite tough to cope with at the time as well, but you do get used to it. It took me about a month to get used to it, and as you can see, it does grow back very fast, so it's a phase. You can't hide from it. I just embraced it, got out there, and just I didn't really let it get me down at all. Okay. It's very important to have a family that we're all in this together. It's not my battle to fight alone, and if we can treat any of this with humour and fun and love, then that's important, and it generates memories that you'll never forget. When my hair first fell out, I was just another bald guy walking up the street, so no one really reacted. But without eyebrows and eyelashes, I found that people did look closely at me from time to time, and I was aware of that. It does attract a bit of attention, but you get used to it. It was only a phase that lasted 3 or 4 weeks anyway before it came back again. In my head, I just thought they're probably thinking that this guy's got going through chemotherapy, which is exactly what's happening, because you don't see an awful lot of people walking around with no eyebrows, eyelashes, completely bald without good reason. So, and I just assumed they're all good-natured people who weren't horrified by what they saw, but just probably maybe hoping that I'm recovering okay. I was offered a chance to go and get fitted up for a wig or look at wigs, but I declined it. It wasn't something I really wanted to do. I just wanted to get up and go, and in fact it was a lot quicker to get up and go every morning without having to do the hair grooming, so that was a bonus. It was mentioned that I could wear hats. I got to make sure, especially in sunny weather, to keep my head covered anyway. It was very important. So hats were a consideration. We had some light-hearted moments where my family bought me a funny hat that was like a head of hair with a visor on it. So we had some laughs out of it, but by and large, I didn't bother with wigs or hats or anything. I got used to looking at myself in the mirror, but for some reason, when I saw photos of myself, especially taken from behind, it didn't look like me. It really didn't look like me, and it looked strange. And even now, when I'm going through my photo album, looking at photos of me jumping on the trampoline with the children or whatever, it doesn't look like me doing it. It's just really strange. The photos are a reflection of a time in my life that was, I went through a difficult period, and that's what I looked like, and it's fine now. I can happily look through them and laugh at them with the kids. Yeah, so do clip it short to begin with, because if your hair is long especially, it is quite a shock to see that all falling out. It's going to happen, so you might as well prepare for it. Prepare your friends and colleagues that it's coming too. Prepare yourself mentally, because you're going to meet a lot of people who will probably not recognize you, and you're just going to have to deal with that and know that it's not them ignoring you. It's just they don't recognize you. They weren't expecting this either. And just keep in mind that actually it is a reflection that the treatment is working well, and your hair will grow back. Mine grew back 6 to 9 weeks after my last chemotherapy treatment. So in my case, it did come back quite fast, and actually less grey than it was before, which is another bonus. The Lymphoma Association website was a brilliant help. It's full of documentation that talks about why hair falls out and when you can expect it to fall out. And the Lymphoma Association forums are a very good place to talk about that as well. Express your worries, talk to people that have been through it before, and they can explain how they went through it and how bad it might have been or wasn't. And so that was all a brilliant help. I think the best way to deal with this is through humour, and having people make fun of me and telling me that they now know what I'd look like, what I will look like in 20 years' time anyway, was quite funny. Although I think I'll keep my hair forever now. Yeah, and the funny hats that I have, I still have a collection of funny hats that maybe I'll wear again, who knows.